Hello, welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina. Hope you're doing well. So I have been so busy lately working, and I've been working like 6 days a week, but I did have time to watch a movie, and I'm going to be discussing it today. And it's called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark for another Slow Burn Sunday. So make sure you stick around for that. But before we get there, I got 2 packages from my friend Patrick. So I'm going to take a look at what he sent me. Now, Patrick won my Gothic Hearts Reading Challenge giveaway last month. So I was really happy to be able to give back just a little bit of what he's given me over the years as far as books and gifts. And it's just amazing. So let's take a look. This I received, and I was thrilled to get a nice softback copy of Ghost Story by Peter Straub. This is one of my favorite novels, and the only copy I have is my first edition hardback. So this is a wonderful reading copy for me because I do love to read this book, if not every winter, every couple of years, because I love it, and I love the movie too. It was one of those books I read as a teenager that really stuck with me. Okay, so he sent me a nice letter, but I won't read the whole thing, but just the first sentence, and his lovely handwriting, which I always appreciate. You know I love letter writing. Okay, so he wrote, "Dear Regina, the first video which brought me to your channel was your video reviewing the film adaptation of Peter Straub's Ghost Story. I found the sound of the film so fun and fascinating that I immediately checked it out. Then I, of course, tracked down a copy of the original novel it was based on. I enjoyed the original novel and balked at the differences between it and the film adaptation, some of the scariest scenes being removed." That's true. And thank you so much, Patrick, for letting me know that you watched one of my videos. In fact, I'm going to put that right here. I never know which side. I'm sorry. I get like turned backwards when I do this. But anyway, it'll be here if you want to check it out. I did that video a few years ago, and I do love the book. I'm wondering if someone could make a television series based on the book would be excellent, because the book's pretty long and it kind of lends itself to that. Like in a movie, they kind of just cut down to the essentials. So I do agree. But thank you very much. This is a great reading copy of one of my favorite books, because, you know, if you read your good first edition too many times, even if you take the dust jacket off, it does get a little damaged. And he sent me another package, which I'll take a look at. I opened it up. Another lovely note. "I hope your rambles have been sweet and your reveries spacious." That's nice. "Dear Regina, in honor of Women's History Month, I thought I would send you some books to celebrate the great women writers of our time. From Emily Dickinson, whose poetry adorns the card." Okay, I didn't know that, but I do have some favorite Emily Dickinson poems. "To Toni Morrison, an author I need to read more of." I'll just say it right there. "Women have been revolutionizing literature for centuries." That's for sure. "In the immortal words of Shania Twain, let's go, girls. Enjoy. Sincerely, Patrick." That's really sweet. Thank you so much. So what have we got? "A Life of One's Own." I guess that's a take on A Room of One's Own. 9 Women Writers Begin Again. Joanna Biggs. Okay, so we have like short stories. That's nice because, you know, not just women, but anyone's life. We don't read enough stories about people, and I don't know what's in this book, but it just made me think about people, especially, let's say, people in middle life. Most of our heroines and heroes are young, and that makes sense because they're idealized in a lot of ways. But I do love a good story about someone who's older, finding love or purpose or being a hero or whatever. You know, your life doesn't stop at 40, or else I'd really be in bad shape. Okay, what's this? Oh, look at this. Oh, Alice Walker, A Life. Oh, this is great. One of my favorite books is The Color Purple. I love that book too, Patrick, very much. And I've always been so intrigued by its author and her life of activism. I thought this biography would be perfect for Women's History Month. I'm inspired to read this now. I don't know when I will get to it, but I will definitely check it out because I love The Color Purple. I read it in college for the first time. So speaking of The Color Purple, I had this wonderful professor in college, and we studied this book as part of our curriculum for, I think it was American literature or something like that. I forget the course, but I took several courses with her. I loved her. Her name was Dr. Reynolds. She was a real Southern belle, always impeccably turned out. She always had like her hair coiffed. You know, she was older, but her her dress, always wore a dress or a suit or skirt, always matched her shoes. Like if she had like beige, it would be beige dress, beige shoes, beige purse, like everything, the jewelry, everything coordinated. And most of the students, I would say included me, but I was always I always made a little effort in my dress even then, would be like, rolling out of bed in, jeans or sweatpants. And she was just like perfect. And I remember when we did study the color purple, she was like, a friend of mine, a professor, is going to stop by and lecture us, or it was very informal, talk about the color purple and African American literature. And it was Henry Louis Gates Jr. He did, I don't know if he still does, a TV show about like looking at your roots and genealogy. Really fascinating. So I never forgot that. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Reynolds, for not only having like a really cool friend, but enlightening me about so much of literature that I wouldn't have been exposed to otherwise. Oh, and look at this. Rooms of Their Own. Where do you write best? Where great writers write. This is lovely. Oh, this is one of those really nice books. Beautifully illustrated. Everyone deserves a she shed or a den or a study or whatever. Yes, we all need that. So, and you never get enough. You never have enough room. I have a whole studio and I'm always complaining. So yeah, it's just human nature, I guess. But thank you, Patrick. Anyway, on to the main event. This is a movie, and I try to do this in my thumbnail. I don't know if it worked, but Patrick sent me this pillow, and this movie scared me so bad when I was a kid. And I'm not the only one. Every kid in my generation, like who grew up in the 70s watching TV, remembers this movie, I think, if they're allowed to watch it. And it's kind of like Salem's Lot, the original Salem's Lot. It scared me. And it scared Guillermo del Toro as well. He's from my generation. He actually made a remake of it, which I haven't seen yet. And this movie I'm talking about is the notorious Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. So Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is an American-made for television film directed by John Newland and starring Kim Darby and Jim Hutton, Timothy Hutton's father, who died at a very young age. And when you see him in this movie, he looks so much like his son, or his son looks so much like him. This was an ABC Movie of the Week, 1973. So what is this about, and why is it so scary? Well, the basic premise is a young housewife accidentally sets free 3 goblin-like creatures from within a sealed fireplace in the Victorian mansion which she inherited from her late grandmother. The creatures begin terrorizing her, then reveal that whoever frees them must become one of them. So, Kim Darby. She was kind of part of New Hollywood at the time in the late 60s, but never quite became the star like some of the other New Hollywood actors became, like Pacino and Hoffman and Gene Hackman, like that group. But she was definitely part of that, and her parents were vaudevillian dancers. So she came from a showbiz family. She got started very young, and she got her big break with a wonderful movie that means so much to me. I can't tell you what this movie meant to me as a kid, to me and my sisters, and that was the wonderful True Grit, starring John Wayne. Glenn Campbell, not the best actor, but it's in the film, you could look at it and say it's kind of corny, and it is, but it's great. Going to see this in the movie theater, I was, a complete tomboy who rode horses. I had a pony. And to see a young girl in a movie riding horses and being equal with the men, although there is one scene when Glenn Campbell pulls her off the horse and whips her butt with like a hickory twig or something, there is that. But it was a great book, and the movie is just great. John Wayne is so great. He won an Oscar for his performance. If you've never seen that movie, it's a classic. Please watch it. John Wayne as Rooster Cogburn, puts the reins in his teeth and like has a shootout with the rifle spinning, and he's got the revolver, boom, boom, boom. It's so good. It's so good. I know the Coen brothers made a remake of it, and I went to see it with my sisters. We were real excited about it. It was a big event, and I had trouble keeping awake. I really did. I found that movie so dull. Technically, yes, it was great. It was closer to the book. It didn't have the heart of the original, in my opinion. Or maybe I'm just being nostalgic. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Let me know in the comments if you love True Grit as much as I do, or if you think that the remake is better. I would like to hear your opinion. Anyway, but back to Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. So that's Kim Darby. She did some other movies before kind of going into more like television, and then her career kind of fizzled out a bit. But she's great. She's I love her. I think she's wonderful. So she plays this kind of sensitive housewife. Her grandmother dies and leaves this beautiful Gothic mansion. Her husband is some kind of executive, and he, wants her to make a good impression when he brings his boss and all of his colleagues home for like this dinner. So they move into this new house and they're renovating, and so it's a little stressful. I mean, that's a very typical horror movie setup, moving into an old house. We know how this goes. And I guess one piece of advice, if you're ever moving into an old house or any kind of house, if there is like in Rosemary's Baby, like one door that's like barricaded or bricked up, if there's like a passageway or in a fireplace that's bricked up, and you're like, who would do that? Just leave it alone. Leave it alone, because you don't want to open it up, because terrible things will happen. So this is what happens in this film. We've got a classic actor, old-time actor, William Demarest, as the handyman, Mr. Harris. He played Uncle Charlie in a TV show I remember vaguely. Like, I was really small when this show came out, but My Three Sons, I do remember seeing it on our TV. I always found it kind of boring. But anyway, he was Uncle Charlie. Plays the handyman. So Kim Darby finds this weird, dark little study in the house. It's a huge house, and she has her decorator coming over, and he's redoing the whole thing into like this 70s Victoriana. It's just a feast for the eyes in that way. So she asked Mr. Harris, the handyman, hey, why is this chimney bricked up and the ash door, the chute, I don't know what it's really called, the flue, I think. Why is it bolted shut? And he's like, oh, you shouldn't be messing around with things, and just leave it the way it is. I knew your grandmother, and I worked on this house. Just leave it be. Well, of course, curiosity killed the cat, and you can't tell a woman what to do with her own home. She undoes the bolts herself, and all hell breaks loose. So in very short work, creepy things start happening, meaning like creepy little people. It's really, really creepy. There's something creepy about something small coming at you. You may recall Trilogy of Terror, which Batilda had a little run-in at her Halloween special. If you haven't seen that, I'll link that below. But when she got into trouble with the doll, whether it's Chucky or the totem doll or anything small, coming around like your feet and little feet running. It's creepy. It's so creepy, and I think this is why it scared kids so much, because it's like your toys coming to life, but really creepy toys. All right, so these things come out in the house, and first you just hear whispering like, we're gonna get her. No, I want to kill her. No, let's wait. They're like conspiring, and they're really like this big, and the way it's shot, the set it's obvious like actors playing these parts, or maybe children in masks and costumes coming down the stairs and stuff. So they really did try to change the scale of like the bookcase with these like enormous books. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that really scary scene in The Brood, Cronenberg's film, where the they're like little children kind of people, miniature people, but they're horrible, and like smashing through that first scene when you see him like kicking through the cupboard. It's like that. It's really scary. And so all these things start happening, but slowly she feels something pull on her dress in the hallway. Like, we want you, Sally. We want you. And as soon as she like hits the lights, or the light comes through the window, they scatter. Something's going on, and she tries to tell her husband, but again, we get you're a hysterical woman. Maybe you should see a doctor. It's the same thing. I wonder if that's changed that much. Probably not. I've got to impress my boss, so get it together. And she's like, okay. So she's keeping it from her husband how really scared she is. I think this is a scene that scared me the most and I can't remember which order this is, but she does give a dinner party, and she has this girlfriend, this blonde, very sophisticated woman who she goes shopping with. She tries to kind of tell her what's going on, but no one's going to believe her. So she has her dinner party, and because the house isn't finished, they just use like romantic candlelight to set the mood. All her guests sit down at the table, and she puts her napkin on her lap, and this little hand pulls it off. And then she said, okay. She puts it on again, and then she looks and she sees the face. I think this is the first time she actually sees the horror of this little face and screams and ruins the whole dinner because now they think, oh my God, what's wrong with his wife? She's crazy. She's a little hysteric at dinner tonight. So he's very disappointed. And I think this scene happens next. She decides to take a shower, and you see this little hand come out and with a coat hanger and turn off the light. And the hand is, they're about like in the scale, if this is like the size of a hand, the hand would be like this big. So it's little. Turns off the light, and now they're going to come and get her, and they've got like a straight razor. They're coming at her in the shower, and they're arguing about, we're going to kill her now. No, let's wait. The lights go. She's in the shower. She jumps out and turns the light on, and that's when she sees them, and they scatter. There's that rule in horror, like in Jaws, don't show the shark until the final reel, because once you give away what these little people look like, these little goblins, it's not as scary. I think it's scarier just to see like the hand or just like pieces of them. When you finally see them, I feel like, at least this time around, I wasn't as scared. So it's more of like, it's just a good rule in horror. The fear of the unknown and your imagination, I think Hitchcock said that in so many words, and is much scarier than, actually seeing it, because then you're thinking, oh, it's kind of, that mask is a little cheesy, this kind of thing. Now, I don't know how Del Toro handles it in his remake, but I am curious about watching that now. So she figures out that they are afraid of the dark, and there's also a really creepy scene where the handyman, I'm just going to call him Uncle Charlie, comes back and he gets trapped in the room with these little goblins, and they start coming at him. Like, you told. And that really scared me when I was a kid, because like Uncle Charlie is now going to be attacked. There's something so sad when you see an old man getting attacked, locked in the room, but he manages to escape. So of course the husbands in these movies, who are always, the pillar of reason, are always in the end the most stupid characters, because they're the last to actually believe what's going on, because the wife is just hysterical. Okay, but he's going out of town. So she asks her girlfriend to come over, and she's set around the house. Oh, she tells the husband, like, when you come back from this business trip, I want to move. You didn't like the house anyway. And he's like, fine, we'll move. This is fine. So they do have a plan to get out of there, but she knows that she's got to survive one more night, and he's not here. He has a very important business meeting. He flew to San Francisco or something. Her friend comes over. I forget her girlfriend's name, but she's a very beautiful blonde. And she actually believes her. She believes her, and she tries to tell the husband, like, there's something going on here. You got to listen. And he's like, oh, I forgot this part. This is important. The decorator comes over. She tells him, we're going to move. And he's like, all of my beautiful work. He's mad. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, trying to explain to him. And as he's leaving, he's walking down the upstairs, and the little goblins put a string across the stairs to trip him or trip her. He trips and falls down the stairs and kills him. And then she grabs onto the string and tries to pull it, and they pull it, and it burns her hands. Ambulance comes, kind of takes the guy away. So her friend comes over, and she shows her friend the burn marks, and her friend believes something's going on, something weird. Of course, the doctor who comes to visit, because she's hysterical, gives her a sedative. She doesn't want to take the sedative, but her friend brings her a cup of coffee, and of course the little goblins put the Mickey in the coffee. And so now Sally is like drugged, and she can't wake up, and she's passing out. The little goblins go outside with an axe. They're very resourceful, and they cut the power lines. Her friend is going to try to go out and fix the fuse box. It's windy. It's a, gothic windstorm. She gets locked outside. The goblins lock every door. She goes around trying to lock the doors. Sally does call the husband to come home right away. So he's flying back. So we get this idea that he could save her. The friend's outside. She's trying to break through the doors. He's coming flying up the driveway in his 70s car. And in the meantime, Sally, who's drugged, is trying to get outside, but she trips. And the next thing you know, these goblins come out and, again, very resourceful, tie up her ankles and start to pull her down into the basement where the chute is, to pull her into the fireplace. This is the part I think that terrorized me more than anything, is when I was a kid, is her being dragged across the floor by these little goblins. They're like, heave ho, heave ho. It's so creepy. And she grabs a friend of hers had one of those Instamatic cameras. Like back in the 70s, we used to have these cameras and you put like a cube. I remember because I had one. And I thought it was so cool. It was like yellow, the camera. And you would have like a cube of flash bulbs. So you get 4 flash bulbs. So as she's being dragged, she grabs the camera and is like flashing and they're scattering, which makes just for a really dramatic ending. You think, is she going to be able to get away? Is her husband getting home in time? Is her friend going to help? And, all of this. And just as they crash through the door, they pull her into the fireplace down the flue. And her husband runs with the flashlight and points it down into the emptiness and then just realizes what happened and just drops it. Like he finally believes her, but it's too late, as it often is in these movies. So we actually have like a downer ending. Haunts of the Very Rich had a downer ending too. So I'm not going to say that. Sometimes we get that, the killer gets walked away in the perp walk, the killer gets caught. But in some of these supernatural stories, I'm thinking we do have that kind of more of that 70s downer ending, which all good horror movies got to have a downer ending, in my opinion. But not everyone likes them. But I don't think I like this one either, especially the very end. Kim Darby's voice, Sally's voice, is added to the goblins. So now she's one of us.
Regina, come with us. We want you.
Okay, Matilda, I know what you're doing, and I know you're getting Sebastian to help you, but it's not going to work.
Let's get her.
Let me know in the comments below if you've watched this film. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll try to get the lights back on. Till next time, bye!